Tonight, U.S. airport security is put to the test and fails miserably. How agents managed to get components for a bomb right past the screeners. I'm Katie Couric. Also tonight, the very latest on the Blackwater investigation. The FBI finds the shooting of 14 Iraqi civilians was unjustified. But will anyone face charges? A proposal for a new category of drugs. Where you once needed a prescription, you'd now need just a consultation with your pharmacist. And if you're ever in need, we only hope you have neighbors like these folks.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Good evening, everyone. Security at America's airports is tighter than ever, but apparently not nearly tight enough. A report out tonight says government investigators over and over again were able to get through TSA screening with everything a terrorist would need to blow a plane out of the sky. Bob Orr is at Reagan National Airport. Bob, not exactly what you want to hear heading into the busy holiday travel season.
No, not by any means, Katie. It's a troubling report. The new government investigation proves that 6 full years after 9/11, U.S. aviation remains a vulnerable target.
In the year since British intelligence uncovered an al-Qaeda plot to blow up U.S.-bound airliners with liquid bombs, millions of passengers have been forced to dump their shampoo, drinks, and mouthwash at airport checkpoints. But the new GAO report obtained by CBS News shows that undercover investigators testing 19 airports slipped past security screeners undetected with components for several improvised explosive devices, both in their carry-ons and hidden on their bodies. Investigators obtained the bomb parts at local stores and over the internet for less than $150. As this experiment shows, common household products can be combined to trigger chemical reactions and even explosions. And the GAO says the specific chemicals and detonators used in its airport tests, when made into a bomb, could cause severe damage to an airplane and threaten the safety of passengers. The report's findings underscore a long-held fear that a team of terrorists working together could easily beat the system.
If you start to break up all the components over several different people, and you bring them in different ways on your person, in your carry-on luggage, how is a TSA screener supposed to put all these pieces together?
New, more precise technology, including liquid explosives detectors and so-called backscatter X-rays, could eventually help screeners find hidden bomb parts. But that equipment is still being tested. For now, the Transportation Security Administration is relying on 2,500 undercover tests every day to help keep screeners on their toes.
That means every checkpoint, every shift, every day, every one of the 450-some airports that we have.
The TSA says there's no such thing as fail-safe security and no way to completely eliminate the threat from bombs and still keep the planes and passengers moving. But the new report is troubling, and it raises questions, Katie, about just how much risk we have to accept. Katie?
And Bob, I understand this is the second time in 2 years the GAO has conducted these undercover tests with airport screeners, and both times screeners failed. So what gives officials any hope things will improve?
Well, it's a tough problem. They're hoping that better training, more rigorous daily testing, more sophisticated techniques like behavioral analysis will tighten security. But this is a tough problem. TSA, on the one hand, is trying to tighten security, but on the other hand, trying to protect the free movement of passengers. Katie?
Bob Orr at Reagan National Airport. Now an update on the Blackwater investigation. The FBI is getting closer to sorting out just what happened 8 weeks ago today when private security guards opened fire on Iraqi civilians. And the evidence against Blackwater is mounting. Here's David Martin.
14 of 17 Iraqi civilians who died in last September's shooting by Blackwater security guards were killed without justification. That, according to a still ongoing FBI investigation. The findings contradict Blackwater claims the guards fired in self-defense and are consistent with earlier investigations by the Iraqis and the U.S. military. Whether the findings lead to criminal charges is another matter.
If all these investigators agree, does that mean there will be a prosecution?
No. As a matter of fact, I doubt that there will be a prosecution.
Former military prosecutor Gary Solis says loopholes in the law and a delay in the FBI investigation weaken the case.
That if you arrive on a crime scene 2 weeks after the event in a public area that's heavily trafficked, essentially your evidence is destroyed, and you're going to have to go with what's second best.
Until now, operating in a war zone has shielded Blackwater from even second-best investigations.
The guarantee was, things are shaky here, things are a little murky, but you'll be on a plane back home and no one will ask any questions after it's done.
Robert Pelton rode with Blackwater in 2004 along Baghdad's infamous Airport Road. What he saw was very different from State Department claims that Blackwater guards rarely open fire.
Using a weapon to clear traffic and to push people back was very, very common, and typical on each run, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 weapon discharges per run.
According to Pelton, the Blackwater guards were doing exactly what the State Department wanted, guns bristling and frequently blazing to protect its diplomats. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
To Pakistan now, Pentagon officials are worried the crisis there could disrupt crucial U.S. supply lines to Afghanistan. 75% of U.S. supplies for the war go through Pakistan. The military is now reviewing contingency plans just in case. Meanwhile, a wild scene in Lahore as students protested the state of emergency. The leader of a minor opposition party came out of hiding to join them and was quickly arrested. Also today, the first video showing former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto, who remains under house arrest. But late tonight, police removed some of the barricades surrounding her home. In health news tonight, the diabetes drug Avandia will soon carry the FDA's strongest warning about a possible heart attack risk. The drug maker GlaxoSmithKline agreed today to add a black box warning. A recent study linked Avandia to increased heart problems, but the FDA is still investigating whether Avandia is riskier than similar diabetes drugs. Meanwhile, the FDA is also looking tonight into creating a new class of medications. Right now, there are prescription and over-the-counter drugs. The new category would be called behind-the-counter. But what does that mean? Nancy Cordes explains.
Have you used these before? Yes. Okay.
Call it cutting out the middleman, except the middleman is your doctor.
You can take it with or without food, it doesn't matter.
The idea, allow some prescription drugs to be sold without a prescription, provided pharmacists like Sherry Garvin perform a quick consultation.
It's medications that are fairly safe. They have a good safety profile, but could be more effective and safer if there is an interaction with a pharmacist.
The concept is in such early stages, the FDA hasn't even said which drugs could fall into this new category. At today's public meeting, witnesses focused on vaccines and cholesterol-lowering statins. And though behind-the-counter drugs exist in Europe, some doctors here are skeptical.
Pharmacists simply do not have the necessary education and training to perform these critical functions.
We need much more evidence from places that have had this program for a long time before embarking on it in the United States.
But in Britain, pharmacists say the system saves time.
Well, it's easier for the patient if they run out of the medicine.
And Garvin argues it's just an extension of what she's doing already.
And be sure to finish it, even if your symptoms start going away.
Still, there are many unanswered questions. Would behind-the-counter drugs be covered by insurance? Would pharmacists get paid extra for the extra duties?
Most importantly, is Congress willing to create an entirely new class of drugs? Nancy Cordes, CBS News, Washington.
Now to the foreclosure crisis. It's hitting some parts of the country especially hard. According to a new report today, Stockton, California had the highest rate of foreclosures in the third quarter of this year, 1 in every 31 households. That's a 465% increase from last year. The Detroit area of Michigan is second, followed by Riverside, California. And in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 1 in every 48 households was in foreclosure. That's up 127%. Kelly Cobiella is in Florida with the latest fallout from the housing slump.
It's the company that invented the American suburb. Now, 60 years after building the first Levitt town in New York, Levitt & Sons Foundation is crumbling.
Our dream is right there.
Retirees Angelo and Paula Palermo were supposed to be closing on their Levitt home in Port St. Lucie, Florida this winter.
Does that look like the sinks are in?
Yeah, my God, we were so close.
Instead, they're living in a one-bedroom apartment, waiting to see if their builder can survive bankruptcy.
This was our last move, I swear. I said to my wife, this is it. This is where we'll die.
But their development and more than 30 others across the Southeast are on hold, and some 600 customers, many of them retirees, with $18 million in deposits are in limbo. The company blames its troubles on a housing glut, the mortgage crisis, and skittish buyers.
Is this the end of the company?
The fact of the bankruptcy filing doesn't mean it's the end of the company.
Bankruptcy attorney Paul Singerman represents Levitt & Sons. He says the company is trying to convince its lenders to stay on board, but with $379 million in bank debts alone, it's a tough sell.
I think that several of our lenders are overwhelmed with financially distressed real estate developers and other bad real estate loans.
Well, that's the roof I wanted.
The Palermos don't know if they'll ever see their $38,000 deposit or the keys to their unfinished home.
I am really afraid. I'm really afraid, so I don't know what I'll do. There's our address.
For now, all they can do is hope a bank will save their developer and their retirement. Kelly Kobiella, CBS News, Port St. Lucie, Florida.
And this international note, a major earthquake struck a remote part of Chile today, magnitude 7.7. It flattened cars and damaged homes more than 100 miles away. At least 2 people were killed and 100 others hurt. There is much more CBS News ahead. He's one of the richest men in the world, so where's his entourage and his limo? And why is he asking to pay more taxes? And our CBS News investigation uncovered an epidemic of suicides among veterans. Up next, what is the VA doing about it? Following our CBS News investigation, there were calls in the Senate today for the Veterans Administration to take immediate action to deal with the hidden epidemic of suicides among veterans of Iraq and Afghanistan. Our investigation revealed that in 2005 alone, 120 veterans took their lives every week, more than double the suicide rate for Americans overall. Tonight, the question is whether the VA is willing or able to deal with it. Once again, here's our chief investigative correspondent, Armin Katayan.
The failure of the Department of Veterans Affairs to track the alarming number of suicides nationwide among those who have served in the military appears to be part of a broader pattern and a bigger problem. Veterans rights advocate Paul Sullivan was a data analyst for the VA from 2000 to 2006.
We call it the don't look, don't find policy. If VA doesn't collect the data, then they don't have to do anything about it.
The numbers the VA does report reveal an agency struggling to cope. 100,000 vets now seeking help for mental health issues, 52,000 for post-traumatic stress disorder alone. And now, on the heels of these recent reports criticizing the VA's treatment and spending practices, come 2 more blows. Of nearly 90,000 Army vets returning from Iraq, this study released yesterday found 28% experienced mental health problems. And this report released last week says while veterans are 11% of the general population, they now make up an estimated 25% of the homeless.
When you raise your right hand, you put on that uniform, you assume you're going to be taken care of.
Paul Rykoff is an Iraq War veteran. He says despite all the good doctors and good intentions,
the VA system is not at all prepared. This country has not ramped up resources to meet this flood of people coming home.
The VA recently responded to such criticism by opening a suicide prevention hotline, hiring thousands of new workers, including suicide prevention coordinators, at all its medical centers.
We're deeply sorry to hear about any deaths.
I can tell you honestly, Dr. Katz, a lot of the parents that I talk to harbor enormous anger at the VA.
One of the factors that's led us to really develop suicide prevention programs is precisely these tragedies.
I mean, we remake the Army after every war. We bring in new equipment, we bring in new weapons. We need to do the same thing at the VA. It doesn't matter where you stand on the war. We've got to take care of the warriors.
Armin Katayan, CBS News, Washington.
For more mental health information for veterans, you can go to cbsnews.com and click on CBS Evening News. Up next, Mr. Buffett goes to Washington. Driver's licenses for illegal immigrants? Not going to happen, not in New York anyway. That tops tonight's Campaign 08 notebook.
I did not say that it should be done, but I certainly recognize why Governor Spitzer is trying to do it, and we have failed. We have failed.
No. You said yes. No. You thought it made sense to do it.
It was the hot topic at the last Democratic presidential debate, but today faced with intense opposition, Governor Eliot Spitzer put the brakes on his plan to let illegal immigrants get driver's licenses.
It does not take a stethoscope to hear the pulse of New Yorkers on this topic.
Nice to see you.
Meanwhile, Republican Rudy Giuliani, who's been conserving campaign funds, airs his first TV ad tomorrow.
They used to call it unmanageable, ungovernable.
Giuliani touts his record as mayor of New York.
We turned it into the safest large city in America.
And acknowledges his faults.
They're not going to find perfection.
He makes no direct mention of 9/11. And in the game of primary checkers, Michigan Democrats said today they'll stick with January 15th. At least for now. New Hampshire is waiting for a final decision before scheduling what's traditionally the first primary in the nation. Meanwhile, billionaire Warren Buffett told Congress today it should hike taxes on the super rich. That may sound surprising, but Warren Buffett is not like most billionaires. Chip Reed caught up with him on the streets of Washington.
Standing on a Capitol Hill street corner, he looked like anyone else.
What I need to do is have the car pick me up.
No entourage, no security. The only clue, WB on his Chick-fil-A bag. Yep, super investor Warren Buffett, the second richest man in America, worth $52 billion and looking for a ride.
Okay, I appreciate that.
And if his common man style surprises you, listen to what he told Congress today about taxes.
I think we ought to take a little more out of the hides of fellows like me. And
he says taxes on the rich are too low and too high for the average American.
He's been on a treadmill while the super rich have been on a spaceship.
Buffett says the tax on big estates is a good thing, that wealth should be made, not inherited. He plans to give his estate to charity, most to the foundation of his good friend Bill Gates, the only American who's richer than he is. We caught up with Buffett after the hearing to ask what his billionaire friends think of all this talk of spreading the wealth.
They generally agree privately.
Do they really?
Sure.
They would like a more progressive tax code for the most part?
Yeah, I think intellectually they would, and on April 15th they probably wouldn't.
Finally, after 10 cheerful minutes, a ride.
Well, if you write a story, tell them how good looking I am.
Leaving me thinking I could have gotten a stock tip. Why didn't I give him a ride? Chip Reed, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
One more business note, an airline merger may be in the works. The Associated Press is reporting tonight that Delta and United have been holding talks. Both airlines call that report inaccurate. Now, some remarkable pictures from space of an Earthrise, a brilliant blue and white Earth emerging from the moon's bleak gray horizon, and later a spectacular view of the Earth dipping back behind it. These are high-definition TV images taken from a Japanese probe that's carrying out the most extensive study of the moon since the U.S. Apollo missions of the 1960s and 70s. Coming up next, a farmer in need with a bumper crop of friends. Finally tonight, just when you were losing faith in your fellow man, just when you were thinking everyone's out for himself, a story comes along that reminds you there really are a lot of good people out there, maybe right next door. Here's Mark Strassman.
On this Indiana farm, the crop is corn, but this is a harvest of kindness.
We've got a neighbor that's down a little bit right now. He's going to come back. He'll be back. I know Darren will be back.
Darren is Darren Hartman, watching other farmers harvest his land.
Strange to see somebody else doing your fields? Very much so.
A fourth-generation farmer, Hartman has stomach cancer. Surgery, radiation, chemo. It's left him too weak to farm. Saving his life could have meant losing his crop, his only paycheck for the year.
So we were just trying to focus on him getting out of pain.
Day by day?
Yes, and sometimes hour by hour.
In a small town, everybody talks, and word travels fast. By the time Darren Hartman came home after surgery, his farming community already had a plan for his crops.
You need to go take that one in.
More than 50 volunteers organized themselves, friends, neighbors, even complete strangers. Danny Wesh would have felt hurt not to take part.
Why would you have felt hurt?
I would have felt like I wasn't in the loop or something.
And remember, all these farmers left their own harvests.
For them to come in and give us their time and their day using their equipment, it's incredible. My goodness, it's done.
The volunteers worked every last acre, storing 9 million ears of corn in the area's mill.
Darren Hartman.
The Hartman's crop is in, but their community just grew a little bit taller. Mark Strassman, CBS News, Cayuga, Indiana.
The heart of America. And that's the CBS Evening News. I'm Katie Couric. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
For news 24 hours a day, click on CBSNews.com. Brought to you in part by Oral-B Triumph. Put the power of the Oral-B experts behind your smile. New Oral-B Triumph with Smart Guide. Its wireless monitor helps you brush better. Its floss action head cleans deep to help reverse gingivitis. Oral-B Triumph with Smart Guide. CBS News. Experience you can trust.